All right, and we're recording. All right, I'll move that window out. I don't need it. Okay, so so far I had numbers 4, 5, and 7. So for this, we don't need graph paper. Let's just use some regular paper, and let's see what we think. All right, 4 is on the very bottom here, and that's making me here go like this here. Yeah, it was 1 through 7, so good. We're starting 4. All right. So let's look at this. Let's just read it first. If you try to do 2 things at once, sometimes it's really tricky. So let's look at everything first. Melanie wants to study the changes in stock prices of companies in the SP 500, so in the stock market. A group of 500 stocks chosen because they represent the U.S. economy. Okay, that's what they're saying. That's what the SP 500 is. Okay. She numbers the companies 1 to 500, obtains a random number from 1 to 20, and then selects every 20th company starting at 18. Okay, to include her sample. All right, so look, this is what it looks like they did. They had all 500 companies. So this is 1.2.3 in the workbook. They had 500 companies, right? So just imagine like 500 companies. They number them, 1 to all the way to 100, 101 all the way to 200, 201. They're just numbering them, right? And that's good. That tells us actually one hint on what kind of sample this is. And then 401 to 500. So you can imagine they put all the stocks in a row, to 100, to 200, 300, 400, 500. Okay. And then what does it say it does? Then it says she numbers the company 1 to 500. Okay, that's what I've shown here. Companies. Okay. So first she numbers them 1 to 100 or 500. And then she obtains a random number from 1 to 20 on a graphing calculator, in this case 18. Okay. So what they did was basically they took all the values, they numbered them. Then it looks like what they did is they found the starting point. Okay? They found the starting point. So which one of them? Let me pull out my my notes that I keep super organized right here. And we look at, remember these pages before? I had these pages with the 4 different sampling methods. We've looked at them before. We pulled them out. Something's happening. All right. So I want to just look at it. And the goal for numbers 1 through 4 was just to figure out what sampling method it was, right? What sampling method it was. So simple random sample. Let's see. This has finding a starting point, and then it looks like it says, and then selects every 20th company. So they found the starting point at 18, and then they're finding the 20th company. So they're going to skip. They're just going to skip 20, and they end up with the next number is 38, right? They said then they skip 20, and they end up with the next number of 58. So there's one that has to do with skipping. Which one had to do with skipping? Let's see. Oh, go ahead and put it in the chat. What do you think? Okay, so instead, James, I can't go slower, but I am recording it. So anything you miss, you can go back and check. Okay, nice, good guess here. Systematic sample works because look what we do. We have to put the objects in natural order. We have to find the starting point, right? And then we have to find the increment, 17 moves to get to your next spot. Now, they had a particular method in finding the starting point, but the hints for this are that we had this starting point that they found. The starting point they said was going to be 18. So they have them all numbered 1 to 500, and they have a starting point of 18. Then they skipped 20, they got to their next number. They skipped 20, they got to their next number. So this is systematic sample. Systematic sample. And here's the thing. The reason I'm not doing a new lecture today and I'm just doing our activity is because we're going to go over finding our samples using the 4 different versions today with the activity. Okay, so just kind of, if it's still not that great after seeing this, it's because I didn't show you the sampling compared to the other ones as much, just for reviewing these. Okay. If you looked at the other ones here, we would have, let me try to get so you could still see that. All right, back it up. Get out. It won't back up anymore. All right. So we had this problem here. Simple random samples, all objects numbered, and use a random number generator to select the sample. Okay. So that would be if we just numbered them and found our samples by just taking random numbers from all 500. Random number generator, we select it. We get 73, we pick 73. We get 242, we pick 242. So that would be simple random. Clusters where we divide into naturally occurring. We use a random number generator to find the cluster we're going to look at, and then we use a random number generator to find the sampled objects within each cluster. Okay, so that is cluster. Systematic, that was where we have a starting point and an increment. Stratified was just dividing the population into subsets, using our random number generator to select objects from each subset until the sample is filled. So that'd be going to 1, take one out with a random number. Go to the second cluster, take one out with a random number generator. Take one out at third cluster, fourth cluster, fifth cluster, and you keep going around a circle till you would figure out your total sample. Okay, so those are the 4 things. If we look at one at a time, there's only 2 that are kind of tricky, but we just have to get our mind around like the different options. So today's activity will get there. Okay, so 4, this might not have been as clean as you'd like, but I promise you, at the end of the activity, you'll feel a lot better about it. So let's look at. I feel like I'm giving people like motion sickness. Sorry about that. All right. The following table contains a number of wins for a Major League Baseball team during the 2012 season. Okay. Use the table to select each type of sample requested in problems 5 through 7. Example or explain how you selected the teams for each sample. All right. So simple random sample with 10 teams. So if I'm doing this for number 5, I need a simple random sample. So let's go ahead with 10 teams. With 10 teams. So remember the sample is just, well, actually, yeah, equals fine. You know, we use these little squirrely brackets to show this is going to be where our 10 teams that we select are going to fit. And remember, just a little review here, the sample, okay, in this case, the population is all of Major League Baseball. The sample is always smaller because the sample is trying to reflect information about the larger population. Okay, so the sample is going to be our 10 teams. And how many teams do we have all together? It looks like we have 5, 10, 15, 20. We got 29 teams. Okay, so out of the 29 teams, we're going to pull out 10 of them, and that's going to fit in our simple random sample. Okay, no problem. So I look at this, and I've never been a teacher who doesn't mind writing books. Actually, when you get books in college, don't buy brand new books. Buy books that are used, because then you get everyone's highlighted. You get the student before you highlighted the book, and you get a better way to study. All right, so watch. Step 1 for simple random sample. Wait, how did I just have it? No, there it is. All right, there it is. Okay, so simple random sample. Let's just look at what the heck that is. Let's look. All right, so look, I made this little image. If you learn more from visual, not just audio, maybe this will help. Just list them up, number them, and then you're using a random number generator to pull out the selected items. It's just really a random list, okay? All objects numbered, use a simple random number generator to select the sample. Okay, yeah, let's do it. So I need to number these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How fast can I do it? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 27, 28, 29, 30. How did I have a different number? Was there a 16? Oh, this one has 6. That's why. So I just figured out, I recounted them, and this is something I can correct. Instead of 29 teams, we got 30 teams. No worries. No problem. All right. Simple random number generator. Everybody go to your phone. Go to your phone, please. And just open up a new browser and put at the top random number generator. And it'll pull up Google's random number generator. You see? It should look like that. You're going to need this throughout the day, so I'd implore you to go ahead and get that open now. Just get that ready, because we're going to need it later. All right, so here's the thing. I need to find my sample by using the correct range. We're not just going 1 to 10. We have 30 teams, so we got to do 1 to 30. Okay. So now I have it 1 to 30, and I'm not going to count 2 because that was already there. That'd be not what I'm doing. All right, let's see. Random number generate. 3, 2, 1. 16. 16 is the Rockies. So I'm just going to call those Colorado Rockies. Colorado. Okay. Let's do it again. Simple randomness sample is the quickest one. It's Washington. Washington Nationals. Because I know I labeled it as 1. So I'm just picking the random number generator to pick them. It's literally just a random picking. All right, what else we got? Generate. 9. We got Pittsburgh. Pitt. Generate. 16. Okay, 1 sec. If it gives you a random number generator and it's already someone that's been picked, there's no way to isolate to not repeat. The other thing you could do is this site right here, random.org. Their entire site is about random number generators. So if this one fails us again, we'll go ahead and use that. SF. All right, we got 4. Let's do the rest real quick. Houston. All right, so I got 5 on the top. Now I'm going to have 5 on the bottom. 12. We did that over again. So I'm going to use a different number generator next time. All right, number 8 is Milwaukee. 26, Minnesota. Amen. It's that easy, guys. SRS, whenever you see SRS question, you're like, yes, number them, and just use random number generator to do all my work. All right, we need 3 more. Philly. 10. Chicago. Lastly, 22. Detroit. All right, so I should have made it like that, a little bit bigger for us. And that's hard to read. You'll do a little better than that if you list them out. But you could see that nobody has the same answers for these because it's random number generator. Okay, so a lot of these problems don't have answers where you can say it's right or wrong. Okay, so it's about knowing the process. And then you had to put what? You had to explain how you selected them. So I'll explain here, and I would just say, I numbered, look, I don't mind if you even do that, okay? We all know what that means. Numbered teams 1 through 30. And yeah, you guys can't see this? What?
I could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You know what? I've had glitches all day. My second period, I had to end early, so I'm hoping this works. I'm recording this. That might give some weird lag, delay stuff. So sorry about that. Let's see. All right. You numbered teams 1 to 30, and then we're just going to use a random number generator, right, to select 10 teams. As long as you have an explanation, you're good, because it's hard for me to know if this was selected correctly. There's no way for me to know. So I'm looking for the example for this, or sorry, the explanation. All right, all right. Simple random sample, thumbs up, sideways, or down. If we get a simple random sample, are we pretty happy with that, right? That's the easy one, guys. That one's the easy one, because all you do is number them 1 to 30, or how many there are, and you use a random number generator to get it. Arr. Use this random number generator to get it. All right. So let's look at, I think we had also, okay, we had number 5, number 7. Okay. Cluster sample. All right, this one we got to get a little more creative. And don't worry, we didn't get to systematic. Cluster is similar, and with cluster for number 7, this will help us understand cluster, and then we're going to hit up the systematic sample when we do the activity. Don't worry about it. All right, let's look. We're trying to find at least 14 teams. Oh man. So we're going to have a cluster sample, and we're going to have 14 teams. All right, so we got to pick 14 teams. All right. So here's what I need to do. I need to go back and check, well, what was the cluster sample? Let's see. Cluster sample. This is the one where you divide them into naturally occurring clusters, use a random number generator to select the cluster, and then within the selected cluster, use a random number generator to get your team. All right. So it's kind of like this. You cluster them on naturally occurring kind of characteristics, and then you use a random number generator to pick which cluster. Okay, this cluster. Then you use a random number generator to pull out one item. Yeah, just from that grouping. All right, this is going to be interesting because, one sec, let me think about it, because we don't have 14 teams like that. Oh, okay. Got it. This is why. Look back in your notes, guys. You need to take out 2 of these arrows because the process starts over. We don't go to just the one cluster. We don't go to just the one cluster and then take all of our values out of that one cluster. We're just going to take one out of that cluster. And then what we do is we start over. Random number generator to pick the new cluster, pick the new team. Start over. Random number generator to find the cluster, and then pick the team. Okay, so it's like start from the beginning, go and do your thing. Start from the beginning, keep doing it. All right, so hey, I look at this, and it almost looks like we have clusters already set up for us. You agree? I mean, they're naturally occurring. They're naturally occurring. So I'm going to just erase this to start over. So here's my clusters I'm going to do. This guy, here, 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 here. You see? 6 clusters. Those are naturally occurring, right? They're based on where the team's located. I think that's a pretty good way to approach it. So I think we got our strategy. And now within each cluster, I'm just going to number them real quick because I'm going to get to the cluster and have to pull one out of there before I start over from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So now we got them all. We got them all done. So here's how we're going to do first. Remember the steps for this. I'm going to even just explain it before I do it. We're going to use, well, first we're going to divide into natural clusters. Okay. Use a random number generator to select cluster. Lastly, use a random number generator to select team in that cluster. And then we're going to just start over, till 14 teams selected. Yeah, that's what we got to do. No problem. No problem. Let's do it. All right, so first I need to set this up. I'm gonna have to change the parameters because each cluster has a different number of teams. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this between how many clusters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So first I need to change this to 6, right? And then I'm gonna generate, this is gonna tell me what cluster to look at. Okay, 2. So we're gonna look in cluster number 2, assuming I just said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So 1, 2, and now how many are in there? There happen to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in cluster number 2. So now I need to do the same thing between 1 and 6 and find my random team from that cluster. And 5. So we're going to go with the Chicago Cubs. So I know that Chicago is in there with our 14 teams. You see the process though? You see the process. Now we got to do what? Start over. So I'm picking the cluster now. It's 1 through 6. So I'm going to generate. I picked 2 again. We'll go 2 again, no problem. So we're looking cluster 1. Now we're still looking at cluster 2 because random number generator said still look at that cluster 2. So now I look at cluster 2. There's 6 items. I'll do 1 out of 6. And I get the 6th team. That's the Houston Astros. Houston. House. Then we start all the way over. We haven't selected anything. Let's find our cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I go in here and do what? Now I go in here and look and see, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options now that I'm looking here. So I got to change my parameter. Instead of out of 6, I got to make it out of 5. You see? Because I'm looking at this cluster, it only has 5. So I better change that to be 1 to 5. Generate your number. 1. New York Yankees. New York Yankees. Okay. That process will continue 14 times. I mean, it's a lot to it, right? But I mean, if I wasn't explaining it, you'd be able to do it quicker. So back it out there. Now we're going and finding our cluster that we're focusing on. Let's do it. Number 3, 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options in number 3. So this one helped me find that I'm doing number 1, 2, 3. And now I need to look within that. There's only 5 options, so I change it to 5. Random number between 1 and 5, 2. LA Dodgers. You see? And you know what? I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do 3 more, and I think I don't have to do all 14. I hope to get you the process, guys. So let's go back. We have to make it 1 through 6 again. Why? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clusters, and the first step from the beginning is find the cluster we're looking at. Random number between 1 and 6, 1. So now we're looking at this cluster. I look in there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. So since I'm looking at cluster 1, I need to make it a random number between 1 and 5 because there's 5 teams. So now we're looking at this cluster. Now let's look closer, find our random generated team, which is 5, which is the Miami. Okay. I'm going to keep doing this now a little bit quicker now because now I just have to find my cluster I'm looking at number 3, 1, 2, 3. And then there's 5 items on there. So I make it random number between 1 and 5. We get 1. And we got the San Francisco Giants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. We're supposed to do 14, but I'm only doing half of them. Clusters 1 through 6, starting over again. We're going to see the random number generator to see that we're looking at number 2, cluster. There's 6 items in there, so I can keep it as 1 through 6. You see, I want a random number to pick these teams, and it's 1 through 6, so I can keep it as 1 through 6. And now I'll generate it, and we get 4, and that's Pittsburgh. Whoop. Pitt. All right. Cluster sample. How do you feel? Thumbs up, sideways, down. Can we do it? And these are things where, you can reference it. Good, good, good. The main thing isn't just in the quiz that it will have later. It's not about what sample you come up with, because you can just put anything, right? You could think you're being random and just pick anything. But I want to see the explanation as the main part, how you pick those numbers, okay? And it's 2:15. All right. Does anyone need to see any more numbers from the homework before we consider our next step? Go ahead and tell me in the chat if you need another one. Anybody else? No one. Okay. Hey, no problem. No problem. All right, guys. So I'm going to stop this video. What I'm going to do is give us a little break before we come back for our activity. It's going to help us understand these 4 different types of sampling methods. All right, so I'll give you 10 minutes. Let's come back at 2:25, please. 2:25. And I'm going to post this in the stream later today.